surfboard with a difference. This one keeps sharks at bay. An Australian company has developed surfboards fitted with a shark shield, which will be available soon. The device emits an electronic field that surrounds the surfboard and affects special receptors on a shark's snout. The receptors connect to the shark's central nervous system, which cause discomfort and finally spasms if the shark gets too close. SeaChange Technology has developed two shark shield devices: a short antenna which trails at the back of the board and an oval-shaped electrode mounted underneath. The company insists the electrical field will only harm sharks. The boards are being tested by Australian surfers, but some seem opposed to the concept. Some say they don't want anything electronic around them when they're out there. The Shark's shields are already used by police dive squads in Australia and by commercial divers. The value of the technology was starkly highlighted by the death of a 29-year-old who was attacked by two sharks while surfing near Margaret River, south of Perth. Witnesses said Bradley Smith, an experienced surfer, fought for his life against a shark as big as a car. Others have said they believed he was attacked by two man-eaters, possibly a great white shark and a bronze whaler, in what would be an extremely rare case of different shark species hunting together. Scientists at the University of Leicester's Space Research Centre are using technologies developed for space research for much more practical biological and medical use. Their work on the two areas of cancer and poisoning has huge global significance, as survival rates are significantly improved if caught early enough. With their partners in the life sciences, they have been able to develop a technology which tells you exactly which parts of the brain are affected by toxins, and this has led in some cases to breakthroughs in understanding of how the brain functions with regards to these poisons. Though based in the Midlands in the UK, the Space Research Centre has collaborative partners all over the world. The future for the Space Research Centre looks healthy. Its scientists will continue to work with their global partners on innovative medical advancements, and are confident that the next 40 years of space travel will be as wondrous for mankind as the last. The zebra, or banded mongoose, is one of 70 members of the civet family, whose natural habitat is the African savanna. Their striped bodies blend in with their environment, and this protects them from their biggest enemies, birds of prey. They're very social animals and often go hunting for mice, insects, and other small animals in groups of 30 or more. The most well-known of these animals is no doubt Rikki-Tikki Tavi of Rudyard Kipling's Jungle Books. When babies are born, they weigh only about 20 grams each and can reach an adult size of approximately 1 to 1.5 kilograms within 6 months. Berlin's Tierpark Zoo has had 6 adult animals for a while now, 3 females and 3 males. They received and were very surprised to see 5 new babies. No one knew it was coming. The females appeared a little fatter, but they never thought they were pregnant. Because of the social structure in mongoose groups, it is nearly impossible to tell if the babies came from 1, 2 or 3 adults, and who the fathers are. All of the adults take care of all of the babies. These young animals will stay in this park for a few more months before being separated and sent to other zoos. They participate in breeding programs, meaning the animals will go to other unrelated groups so that there are a lot of new colonies. This will ensure that the species will be part of our lives and part of the environment for years to come. People with diabetes are up to 5 times more likely than others to suffer a stroke or heart attack. This trial has found that using a drug to lower cholesterol could cut risk by at least a third. Dr. Mary Seed, one of the coordinators of the trial, says the results show that all adults with diabetes, even those with normal cholesterol levels, should consider taking cholesterol-lowering drugs. The trial, known as the CARD study, was part sponsored by Diabetes UK. They are also excited by the result. It shows about a 50% reduction in stroke and over a third reduction in heart disease. It is a major achievement and really good news for people with diabetes who are at such high risk of these 2 problems. The researchers involved in the study stress that cholesterol-lowering drugs are only part of the answer, and that diabetics must stop smoking and keeping their weight and blood pressure down to cut their risk of dying from heart disease or strokes. At Chaoyang Hospital in Beijing, a doctor is carrying out a delicate operation that could spell an end to paralysis. The pioneering operation, which uses fetal cells harvested from aborted fetuses, is attracting huge attention because it promises hope to patients who have been told that their paralysis is irreversible. Neurosurgeon Dr. Huang Hongyun is now treating patients from all over the world because in most countries, the use of fetal cells or embryonic stem cells is strictly limited or even banned. Huang has treated more than 400 patients with spinal cord injuries or other nervous system disorders. Many of his patients have reported a modest return of sensation and even some movement in previously dormant limbs. While the operation doesn't promise overnight miracles, Huang believes it offers real hope to people condemned to a life of paralysis. Since news of Huang's success leaked out on internet discussion groups, thousands of desperate patients have contacted him. Huang has plunged into the surgery without the backup of extensive clinical trials, so experts have urged caution among those desperately hoping for a cure to paralysis. Everything from the latest mobile phones to satellite communications equipment is showcased at the Wireless Japan Expo. Japanese electronics giant Panasonic displayed various prototype phones which double as headphones or even sunglasses. These are concept models of mobile phones that will be available beyond 2010. At this time, mobile phones will be able to handle communication at 100 megabytes per second, and phones will cease to be just phones. They will be part of a local area network, and they will have to be wearable as well, because we will be in a wireless environment. For those who have old-fashioned phones equipped with a camera, Fujifilm has created a portable printer which can produce prints of photos in a matter of seconds. In the world of satellite communications, satellite television is due to go mobile when the Mobile Broadcasting Corporation launches its portable television set. This is the first technology in the world which will enable subscribers to receive data, audio and video via satellite on a portable device. Users will be able to see more than 40 channels around the clock, regardless of where they are in Japan. The small town of Nzerekore in the South Guinea borders on a sacred forest. It's the kingdom of fetishes and ancestral rites. In the heart of this forest, Marie Flanoise has reigned over a small fabrics workshop for many years. Her earth-coloured sacred forest fabrics have become famous all over the country. Kola nuts, soil, leaves and the bark of trees. Every ingredient matters, whether used as dye or as a fixer. But Marie Flanoise jealously guards the secrets of her craft. Scraps of satin or white velvet acquired at the local textile market gradually take on their earthen colours. It takes a small team 2 days to produce one rectangle of cloth, which will sell for up to $6, enough to ensure the family's survival. There are also 15 forest dwellers of all ages who work as Marie Flanoise's apprentices. This is a region that's rich in minerals, but in recent years its economic activity has declined considerably. The political instability in neighbouring countries has made it harder for both people and products to cross borders, so locals try to live off what the forest has to offer. To be sold, the fabrics have to make the long and sometimes perilous journey to the capital, Conakry. It's a 20-hour drive through Guinea's forests, which are dotted with Liberian and Sierra Leonean rebels. Chaos reigns in the market alleys of Conakry. At the stalls, textiles from all over Africa are on sale. Marie Flanoise's sacred forest fabrics rub shoulders with imports from Mali. The stiffest competition comes from Western clothes, as young people often prefer to wear jeans and t-shirts. But even if local trends are changing, traditional fabrics haven't gone out of business. Guineans are fiercely proud of their sacred forest, another plus for the fabrics that come from there. Far from the capital in the sacred forest of Nzerekore, Marie Flanoise will carry on making her fabrics with the secrets that ensure her survival. Secrets that will remain in the magical kingdom of fetishes and ancestral rites. "83-year-old Sachiko Murase is a changed woman. A year ago, her Alzheimer's was so advanced she could hardly recognize a pencil. But after persistently following through what is being called learning therapy, she now mingles with her classmates and chats with her teacher. Her once blank expression is now punctuated with smiles. While doctors concede she will never be the same, Sachiko Murache, thanks to a method developed by Professor Ryuta Karashima of Taihoku University and taken up by the Kuman Institute, Japan's largest private learning center, she can once again share her joys and sorrows with friends and family. Researchers say it works like mental exercises to rehabilitate the frontal cortex, a part of the brain responsible for much of our species' thought process, communications, emotional control, and memory regulation. Even those who did not improve saw little to no deterioration in their mental states. For the caretakers at nursing homes, it's been a godsend. However, because the course far from guarantees full recovery, the spotlight is now turned to the prevention of Alzheimer's. Twice a week, some 40 septuagenarians and above gather to perform the same tasks as before, though only slightly more difficult as those done with the elderly at the nursing home. The idea is to keep the brain in shape, just as calisthenics keep the body in shape. This idea has become popular in the neighborhood, even if some find the textbooks on the easy side. Kawashima's research shows that brain activity seems to diminish if the problems that need to be solved are more complicated. The exception, though, is reading abilities. In a second or foreign language, the more difficult the task, the more stimulative. Kawashima's ideas have caught on in Japan like wildfire, where his concepts, simplified for the masses and edited into an exercise book, have sold over 1.3 million copies in print. Shidegawa, one of Tokyo's 23 wards with a population of 330,000, encapsulates the problem the rest of the country faces, having seen a rapid explosion of retired pensioners. 1 in 5 people is above the age of 65. Nationwide, by 2015, that will make for 33 million retirees. Kuman has also recently set up a company to help implement the learning therapy methods in over 200 institutions throughout the country, providing them with textbooks and teacher training. The bustling streets of Manhattan near the Empire State Building are filled with honking taxi cabs and stressed out workers hurrying along the sidewalks. But inside the famous landmark lies a haven of peace, a place where stressed out workers are encouraged to sleep on the job. The 24th floor of the Empire State Building is home to a small, quiet room filled with futuristic chairs or napping pods. This is Metro Naps, a sort of Spanish siesta, New York style. Metro Naps is a place where busy New Yorkers get power naps in New York City, says the co-founder of Metro Naps, Ashad Chowdhury. This daytime sleeping salon is aimed at busy execs who just need 40 winks to rejuvenate. Customers can snooze for 20 minutes. The room is darkened, and white noise blocks out any of the whispered conversation at the front desk, and customers can sit back and block out the world. The seats, rather like plush dentist chairs, recline. A blanket is placed over the sleeper's legs, and a CD player pipes ambient sounds into the headphones. After the 20-minute session, any more than that leaves nappers groggy rather than revived, customers make their way to a wake station where they can spritz their face with a lemon-scented spray, eat a mint, and be on their way back to their hectic schedules. For busy executives, there's always been the power lunch or the power breakfast, but now it's all about the power nap. The majority of Metro Naps customers are business people who work long hours and just need some shut-eye in between meetings. They've designed the Metro Nap pod to work in almost any setting: airports, highway rest stops, corporate offices, and even hospital waiting rooms. So they're excited about the prospects for the future. Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament are among the many must-see landmarks for many visitors to London. But discovering the lesser-known attractions, sites and restaurants can be a time-consuming headache for tourists and locals alike. Now, with the launch of a television information service, a comprehensive guide to all that London has to offer is being broadcast 24 hours a day. London TV is the first channel in the world dedicated to leading people to the city's many and diverse attractions. Program content includes top tips from celebrities and long-time residents on how to enjoy all that one of the world's most exciting cities has to offer. With surveys showing that even Londoners can be lost in a city packed with choices, London TV is set to become an exciting source of stimulation and entertainment for all of its viewers.
Scientists have known for years that eating more oily fish makes for a healthy heart. Now new research spells out exactly how fish oils protect against heart attacks and strokes. British scientists studying patients with diseased arteries found that the omega-3 fatty acids found in oily fish appeared to fight inflammation in blood vessels. The fish oils help to stabilise the fatty deposits that build up in the artery walls, making them less likely to break apart and cause a potentially fatal blockage. Scientists have known for some time that people with a diet high in fish had extra protection against cardiovascular disease, but until now we're at a loss as to exactly how this worked. Heart disease and stroke are caused by the build-up of fatty material in the blood vessels, and this material can stop blood flowing to the heart or to the brain. For a healthy heart, a portion of oily fish such as salmon or mackerel should be consumed twice a week.
Described in legend as flowing from a source near the Garden of Eden, the Tigris is now choking with modern-day pollution that researchers say puts millions of Iraqis at risk. A little way downstream, a torrent of sewage gushes into the river as it flows through the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. A stench like rotten eggs wafts through the air. Experts from the Iraqi government and environmental groups had hoped to conduct the first survey of the section flowing through Baghdad since the US-led invasion. But river police stopped them short, citing security concerns. A short cruise reveals a catalogue of culprits pumping waste into the Tigris. Environmentalists say Iraq's government must clean up a river that provides drinking water for Baghdad and much of southern Iraq, saying risks should not be overlooked, even though the leadership is focused on crushing insurgents. It is a huge challenge. Waterborne diseases drift downstream with raw sewage, while Iraqi officials fear industrial waste may prove even more toxic. Waste from a medical complex gurgles into the water further downstream in the city, creating an aroma like raw fish and filling the water with black globules and flakes of scum. Further on, sewage presented the biggest problem, surging almost untreated into the water from pipe after gaping pipe. It was not always that way. Iraqi researchers date the start of the decline to Saddam Hussein's war with Iran in the 1980s, when government funds were diverted to the army. Sanctions imposed after the 1991 Gulf War further crippled facilities, before looters stripped sewage works along with other government facilities. Beyond the sewage pipes, runoff from a power station belching black smoke from a chimney poured into the water. Plunging under the olive-green surface of the Tigris, worshippers from an obscure sect emerge, spurting water from their mouths. Shrugging off concerns of environmentalists, white-robed worshippers of the Sabia Mandaean nation, a relic of the ancient Gnostic religions, take their weekly dip in the Tigris to purify their souls. To members of the Sabia Mandian nation, the river's contents are of little concern. Shlomi Amuyal is a paraplegic. Now aged 32, his loss of sensation and movement began when he was 8. He has been living in a hospital in Jerusalem ever since. Amuyal enrolled in one of Israel's prestigious art academies with an unusual yet unique technique for painting. Lacking total control of all bodily functions, he rolls his wheelchair over white papers, leaving wheelchair tracks in original patterns. His art was displayed at Jerusalem's Bezalel Art and Design Academy, alongside video, photo, industrial art and architectural exhibitions. Amuyal says he tries to show people how he's seeing life, how he's dealing with problems. He says what makes him happy is his feeling of contribution to society. It makes him feel normal. Doctors say it's a medical miracle that he's still alive after his brother died from the same fatal disease. Ido Borelli, head of the arts department in Bezalel, has been supervising Amuyal's art projects since he enrolled in the academy years ago. Borelli asked him whether or not he believed he would finish the graduate project. Shlomi said no. Borelli said nobody but God could have helped Shlomi create his artwork. He says he actually succeeded in doing something that is not a touch of the human being, but a touch of inspiration. An animal home in India's western Bombay metropolis has gone ahead of the others and provided artificial limbs to a stray puppy. Chotu the pup had met with a near-fatal accident and was left to die on the streets of the busy city. Though several people passed by, it took an activist from Bina, a voluntary animal help group, to take it to safety. The organisation then took it to a prosthetist who gave him custom-made artificial limbs. After receiving the process, Chotu was walking 10 to 12 steps. As he grows up, they will have to change the sockets so that he can fold his foot and sit down. Animal rights activist Padma Wala, who takes care of Chotu, was grateful to the prosthetist who helped him. She had taken him to several doctors, but they all said it was a lost cause and he should be put down. But they're thankful that Chotu is all fine and healthy. India houses around 20 million dogs of different breeds, of which 80% are street dogs. Thousands of street dogs are routinely killed by city corporations across India to keep them from creating traffic and sanitation problems. Hundreds of years ago, this was the Silk Road trading route. Now the remote mountain roads of Kazakhstan are some of the most heavily travelled drug routes connecting Afghan drug fields to European city squares. Krizuk police are trying to stop this. Some 4,300 metres up in the mountains at Krizalat Pass, border guards inspect cars and travellers from neighbouring Tajikistan. They're trying to disrupt a trade route that begins in Afghanistan, passes into Tajikistan, crosses over into their state, and then goes on to Russia and Europe. In effect, they're trying to cut off the entire drug route's circulation by pinching it at one of its most narrow and vulnerable points. But they are sorely equipped and armed. The guards work without drug-sniffing dogs, night vision equipment, support helicopters, telephones, and even without electricity or heating. Officials estimate the amount of drugs passing these roads grows each year. Nothing has changed that, not even the US-led occupation of Afghanistan. Authorities seize as much as $2.5 million worth of drugs each year, but much more goes through. The Kyrgyzstan government estimates that 30 to 35 tons of drugs comes through Kyrgyzstan. Over half of this is believed to have originated in Afghanistan. According to the United Nations Office for Drugs and Crime, the opium production for Afghanistan in 2003 alone reached an estimated 3,600 tons. That was an increase of 6% from the previous year. And opium generated an income of $1 billion for farmers and $1.3 billion for traffickers. The UN is working with Kazakhstan to create a security zone around Afghanistan. The agency, being the UN initiative, is funded mostly by the United States, which allocated $6.5 million for a period of 3 years. Stephen Dunn is the project coordinator. He plans to select a group of drug agent officers with the help of lie detector tests and incentives of a high salary, $400 to $500 per month. But geopolitical realities will also affect him. The Russian troops along the Afghan-Tajik border have a mandate to serve only a few more years. Many fear that local Tajik troops will be unable or unwilling to stop an enormous rise in the drug trade once the Russians leave. In a worst-case scenario, there will be many towns like Osh, the regional center of southern Kazakhstan. Osh is the transit center for much of the illegal drug trade. The carriers route their drugs into Osh and then fan out on multiple trade routes into Uzbekistan or Kazakhstan for further passage into Russia and Europe. Some of the drugs don't leave Osh, whose population of 1.5 million residents is believed to have the highest percentage of drug users in the nation. Many young people become hooked on the city's trade. Official statistics report 6,000 registered drug addicts through Kazakhstan. The UN estimates there are as many as 100,000, but no one knows the real number. While heroin is secretly traded, lighter drugs such as cannabis literally grow like weeds. In the small town of Kant, just outside the capital of Bishkek, a group of police officers are sent to cut down an entire field of cannabis. He lived 2,800 years ago and was a high priest in a society that laid great emphasis on preparation for the afterlife. Nespetanub from Karnak is one of around 100 mummies in the British Museum, one of the leading collections of Egyptology in the world. Only now can researchers and historians discover the full truth about his life. Using special SGI hardware and also some specifically developed software, they can start to examine data and start to remove different parts of the mummy. But everything's done virtually. Taking an X-ray, such as used for medical scans, and subjecting it to radically new computer analysis leaves the mummy and coffin physically intact. The new technology tells us that Nespetanub died in his early 40s, a long life when expectancy was 35. His father is also in the museum, so there's ample potential for learning still more, courtesy of another mummy of the Nespetanub family. The technology is a landmark in the study of the ancient world, offering a three-dimensional insight. Small but significant facts have emerged. such as Nesperanab suffering a bad tooth. Also that the embalmers made a mistake, allowing one of their cups to stick to corpses' heads overnight. Covering up their handiwork on such a prestigious client, they leave a very human touch to an autopsy by virtual reality. Like many children, Tina Lane's two boys used to have trouble getting off to sleep. She tried everything, eventually hitting on the idea of making them fleecy cotton sacks to sleep in. It worked, and soon friends were wanting them too, and Lisa decided to go into business. Now, the children's sacks are available in 20 different designs. Such was the spiralling demand for the sacks that Lisa's husband Simon gave up a top management job to help run the business. Shops around Britain stock them, and the company exports to Europe and the United States. Tina's own children like their snuggle sacks so much, they wouldn't dream of going back to conventional duvets or sheets and blankets. Tina and her husband are already working on larger sacks with funky designs to appeal to teenagers and even adults. So before long, more of us could be zipping up rather than tucking in for a good night's sleep. Birmingham, for 200 years the industrial powerhouse of Britain. Most of the inhabitants of this city of 1,000 trades lived and worked in houses like this. Today, nearly all of it has been knocked down, but the last of Birmingham's so-called back-to-back terraces have now been restored by Britain's National Trust. Some of the many families who lived here provided information to researchers and artefacts for the restoration of the houses, which doubled as workshops for craftsmen of all kinds. Houses like these, built around a central communal courtyard, started to go up from early 19th century to house the city's expanding population. But some still lived in these cramped conditions until the 1960s. A tour of the restored courtyard takes you through houses typical of the 1840s, the 1870s and 1930s. The visit ends in a tailor's shop, for 24 years the workplace of George Saunders. He regrets the passing of the strong community spirit that came with living close together in poverty. But despite the new paint and curtains, former residents have not forgotten what it was like to grow up in these cramped hovels with their inadequate heat and light. While a few will regret the passing of the slum housing where generations of Britain's working population were forced to live, this restoration project gives a rare insight into a key chapter in Britain's social history. Zoo workers in Leipzig, southwest of Berlin, were astounded to find this rare Angolan lion giving birth to a single cub. Father Matadi has not yet seen his son, but zoo workers assume that he knows the mother has given birth and is eager to meet him. However, the zoo will keep the two separated until the cub begins moving about the enclosure on its own. This cub weighs 2,750 grams, and his relationship with his mother is excellent. The Angolan lion is threatened by extinction in its natural African habitat, and Leipzig is looking for zoos across Europe who will participate in a breeding program. This cub will probably spend the first 2.5 years of his life at Leipzig before being sent on to another zoo for breeding. More than 2,300 lion cubs have been born at the Leipzig Zoo during its 125-year history. The first lion cub born there was Busi in 1881.
While Christmas and New Year's is a season for joy, for some it can be an especially difficult time of year. A study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association reports that adults who attempt suicide this or any other time of the year are more likely to have suffered traumatic experiences as children. The study found that negative adolescent experiences increase the likelihood of adult alcoholism, illicit drug use and depression. According to the World Health Organization, suicide rates have risen 60% over the last 45 years. In 2001 alone, Mexico experienced a 62% increase in suicides. Although trends vary from country to country, suicide is among the top 3 causes of death in 15 to 34-year-old males and females worldwide.
The Earth's atmosphere sustains life by the thinnest of margins. Cruising 60 miles per hour straight up, it would take just 6 minutes to exit the air we need to survive. NASA has successfully launched Aura, a new research satellite that will study the health of our atmosphere. Aura will make global observations of the ocean of air that surrounds the planet. Scientists are particularly interested in changes in air quality, and many factors impact on air quality. Gasoline and diesel engines give off gases that create ozone and smog. Pollution travels across borders and oceans. In some parts of the world, the air quality is so poor it has become a major health issue. And thanks to this new technology, Aura will see it all. The technology is cutting edge because it allows Aura to measure atmospheric composition where we live and breathe in a whole new level of detail. Scientists will use these measurements to improve air quality forecast models. Plus, measurements of greenhouse gases like water vapor will help scientists better understand climate change. With Aura, NASA capped off a 15-year international effort to establish the world's most comprehensive Earth-observing system, whose goal is to determine the extent, causes, and consequences of global change. The Earth's atmosphere is a thin, fragile system. In the way the Hubble telescope changed the way astronomers looked at our universe, scientists are counting on Aura to change the way we look at the complex and dynamic systems that surround the planet. Imagine having a tiny computer inside your body which could function as a whole heart clinic. It sounds like science fiction, but surgeons in Moscow have carried out the first ever implant of just such a device. In the pioneering operation, the cardiovascular defibrillator was implanted beside a patient's collarbone, then connected to 3 of the heart's 4 chambers via electrodes. It constantly monitors heart activity and delivers shocks and stimulation to normalize heart function. A pacemaker has a similar function. But inside this electronic doctor is a medical algorithm which can actually make a diagnosis, then direct a shock to the area with pinpoint accuracy. It weighs about 70 grams and is powered by a lithium battery. The computer can deliver differentiated shocks up to 700 volts to treat various types of arrhythmia and heart failures. What also makes this electronic Heart Guardian special is that it's connected via a mobile link to a computer centre in Berlin, allowing medics there to keep track of a patient's condition and reprogram the computer remotely. Professor Revishvili, who invented the device, says that this is the first time a multi-chamber defibrillator has been supplied with a data transmission mechanism. It's a technological breakthrough that could have far-reaching effects for thousands of people who would otherwise be hospitalised. The next major stop will be an artificial heart. UCLA's urban simulation team call their computer-born version of Los Angeles Virtual LA. For more than a decade now, the team has been hard at work building a virtual version of their home city. Their digital creation represents an urban area thousands of square miles in size, and they're not finished. The UCLA team is well into a long-term effort to build a detailed computer model of the entire Los Angeles area. The Virtual LA project is run by Dr. Bill Jepson, a computer scientist at UCLA. Jepson has been with the project since it began in the early 1990s. The concept dates back to the 1980s, when Jepson and others at UCLA began using basic three-dimensional computer models to map out large urban areas. That effort has grown from a modest research project to a software tool already in use by Los Angeles officials and drawing interest from urban planners worldwide. So far, the UCLA team have built over 150 city blocks into their digital city. With a mouse and keyboard, users can fly from high altitudes over the city down to street-level views, accurate down to street signs, storefront signs, and graffiti on walls. When completed, the entire model will cover an area well in excess of 10,000 square miles. Jepson says their growing city is built with a mix of digital images and geometric data based on drawings of buildings and mapping information. Beyond the proven urban planning applications, Jepson says possible uses of the model are endless. Along with LA planners, officials from other cities in the US and elsewhere are eyeing Virtual LA for use in their own regions. Thousands of Cambodians have been flocking to the remote province of Kampong Chang to catch a glimpse and a lick of a bull they believe has mysterious healing powers. Local villagers said the bull has already cured dozens of people from chronic and short-term aches, pains and ailments. And the news of its wonders is spreading rapidly across the nation, resulting in long lines of people who wait patiently to spend a moment with the holy bull. Awestruck Cambodians trek from all over the nation to this village and are allowed to spend up to an hour with the famous bull. The old mystic wonder has been giving free treatment to anyone who arrives at his barn step. It all started quite unexpectedly when bull owner Put Mek discovered that his chronically ill wife had been suddenly cured of her ailments. Since then, he says up to 400 people have been turning up daily to be licked by the bull. But if you fail to catch the sacred creature up close and personal, other arrangements can be made. Put Mek have started distributing holy water christened by the bull. He says the water can be splashed, drunk, or simply rubbed on the point of your ailment for almost immediate effects. Some visitors are bringing bottles of the holy water back so they can cure themselves while at home. Others are doing takeouts with grass that the bull has touched while feeding on the plains, hoping to add it to their home-cooked meals and brew up some of its magic into their system. Though rare, this isn't the first time Cambodians, who are known to be superstitious, have witnessed magical beasts. A few years ago, a similar healing cow was reported to have been performing miracles in another remote province.
They look like gumballs and hard candy. They even taste like candy, but they're actually vitamins for children. They are one way to get kids to take vitamins if they aren't getting enough as part of a regular diet. The Vitaballs, Gummy Vites and Flintstones are packed with vitamins A, C, D and many more. Nutrients that can help form good habits and prevent many chronic diseases such as diabetes and heart disease. But kids can be the toughest critics of all. While at first it tastes a lot like bubblegum, after you chew it for a while it tastes like medicine. It's just further evidence of an age-old struggle. It's tough to get kids to take their vitamins even if they're sugar-coated.